All right, welcome to the Patriotic Dragon Radio Show. The show to bring back honest, open conversation to local, state, and national issues. This month's sponsor is the North Georgia Young Republicans at the University of North Georgia and Brenau College. Our guest this week is Mike Cowart, school board chairman. Our panelists this week are David Leister and Bill Cagle. And as we always say on the show, as a disclaimer, the opinions, conversation on the show is that of the panelist, the guest, not of the sponsor, WYYZ, or the Pickens County GOP. All right. Well, Mike, I want to welcome you on the show. Thank you for coming on.
Well, I appreciate it. And I've got to do my own disclaimer because legally I can't speak for all of the board. I can only speak for myself. So.
Well, I didn't want to say you were from Day Chevrolet because we're not going
to. Well, you could come by and ask for a sponsorship. Sponsor.
Yeah. Or get that really cool looking cruise they got on the front line.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But no, I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad y'all invited me.
All right. And David, good to have you back on the show.
Well, thank you for letting me come back.
Taking a hiatus. I know how those kids are. They're needy.
No, they're in Florida. I'm needy. I need to be in Florida.
No, you need to be with us. And Bill, thank you for being back on.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, what we want to talk about this week and having Mike on is really to help us get a little bit more clarification. Of course, we've talked about in several shows about the East Plus before. It was voted on, and now that it has passed. And what we want to kind of delve into tonight stuff, one of the first questions, Mike, we talked about it somewhat last week with Rick Jaspers on the show, but on we had about approximately 1,250 registered voters come out of the 19,000 that could have voted. How can the school board and us as citizens get the rest of the county behind this tax and what's done with the funds? How do you see that we can, now that it's in place, how can we make it a positive?
Well, first of all, I guess the best way I can describe it is in all of the East Plus before, and all Board of Educations before me, every one of them have been very conservative in when they are going into debt. I mean, it's just like we will pay off the bond payment early. I mean, not technically early, but I mean, it'll be paid in February, and then the actual current SPLOST will run through another year. It'll run through December of 16. Mm-hmm. So, we don't like being in debt. It's just, I guess, all the board members, I feel like, and myself are very conservative as far as that goes. I look at East Plus as it is the way that we fund a lot of things other than bricks and mortar. The state of Georgia has all but quit funding any transportation cost to any school system whatsoever. Mm-hmm. So, if you'll know, in every East Plus, the last two for sure, there has been in there for transportation costs, for buying buses. That is, I mean, you want safe buses, you want quality buses that don't break down a lot. I mean, we have a great team down at the transportation department that take care of them. And, I mean, we don't have that many kids sitting on the side of the road with a broke down bus. That's just not productive for anyone, whether it's going home or coming to school. Their technology is built into the East Plus. We have to have technology in the hands of every student by 2020, every single day. That is as I like to call, an unfunded mandate.
Yeah. That'd be the Department of Education.
Right. I mean, but that is, no matter what we do, we have to do that. Your local Board of Education is governed by a lot more than just us sitting there deciding, okay, well, we'd like to do this for Pickens County. State of Georgia has their rules that we have to follow. Federal government has their rules we have to follow. And then the state of Georgia is also, for I guess the best way to describe it is, made it to where we have certain guidelines as board members that we have to follow. It's just like, I want all parents to get involved, whether it's grandparents or parents. I want citizens to get involved, retired people that are retired engineers or whatever. Go volunteer at a school. I want all that because as a board member, even though I have a child that is still at the high school, as a board member, I can't get involved in day-to-day operations. It's against the law.
Gotta love it.
They will. I mean, we will get turned into SACs, and we will lose accreditation, and then we're done. So it is. Once you become a board member, you just sort of have to. I don't want to say you give up the right to be, your child's parent, but you can't get as involved as you would want to be, and that's why we need everyone else to be involved at the school level, because I want to, teachers tell us what's going on, administrators tell us what's going on, the central office staff tells us what's going on, but we have places for parents and community members to be involved. I'd like to have difference of opinion on things. I would love to have people that have graduated and went to college and come and live here, just right out of college, to get involved with the school system so we get young people's ideas on what, they've just finished college.
Right.
Who better to say, okay, this is what's happening at college and this is what you need to do to prepare. So, but I think that, as far as, getting involved with the East, everybody behind the East Blast, it is a necessary thing in order to fund the education of our children in Pickens County. That's the only way I can describe it. It is a necessary thing. Also, during the election, I don't know if y'all know this or not, but no board member nor administrator with the school system, I couldn't come up to you and tell you to vote for it.
Oh no, I realized that you couldn't be asked to.
All we can do is just put out, try to put out as much information about it as possible. We had, we have businesses that put ads in the paper for us with, this is what the SPLOST is for and all that. We have, the reason for the middle school is every year the state looks over your 5-year facility plan. And that's how far out we go, is 5 years. Right. We do a 5-year facility plan. Every year the state comes out and assesses your buildings. And this year they came out and basically said, everything looks absolutely great. But at Jasper Middle School, we're not going to participate in furnishing any money to do anything else to that school. That school needs to be replaced. Now, we can choose to spend as much money as we want. We will get no matching funds from the state of any kind.
Right. So we can keep the school, quote, up and running till we got a plan put together and make the transition.
Right. Like, since, to give you an example, like, we spent almost $2 million at Pickens County Middle School since 2014, but we've only spent $334 at JMS. We were expecting this, so it's like we're going to, we don't want to ignore the building, but we want to spend the least amount of money possible in order to keep it going until the decision is made.
Keep it safe and dry. David?
Yes.
What are you going to do with the building after you move to the new one? What's going to happen to JMS?
All that is totally up in the air. We have, at our last board meeting, we told the superintendent to have our transportation director put together and our operations director put together any kind of proposal from moving it to one end of the county to building where it is, every single thing possible as just I guess the best way to describe it is a general outline of these are the things that we can do. And that's the first step of the process.
But if that building isn't fit for the children,
Right.
then the question is, how unfit is it? And is it going to be demolished, or is it just going to be an eyesore?
It's not unfit. I guess that's not the right word. The state has considered it non-fundable.
Okay.
Is a better way of describing
Yeah.
it. I mean, it's not unfit. Now, as far as when you compare it to the rest of our schools, it is definitely behind.
Yes, it's safe and dry, but needs no more than
Yeah.
that.
And a lot of people aren't hearing that. That's why
Right.
I asked the question, so
Exactly.
we can get it out.
And Mike, when you mentioned that, it makes total sense. I'm not asking this.
Right.
It's not a curveball coming out of nowhere,
Right.
a hard slider. But Tate Elementary is much older than that school. How come Tate Elementary is still fundable versus Jasper being unfundable?
That's a state decision. I'm going to say that it's because of its historic value. It
what I
is.
thought, but
I mean, because sometimes I have no idea why the state does what they do.
Yeah.
They
Well,
don't
most
even
of the
know
time.
what-
Most
they
of the
don't-
time.
They can't answer that question.
Right.
Well, yeah.
But I love Tate School.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
If I had,
We'd have
I mean,
enough
you know,
water if
I'll
they
make
sick.
I'll make a bunch of principals mad, but if I had a child in elementary school, I'd want them to go to Tate
Yeah.
because I think it's the coolest school we have.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
yeah. If there was a talk of closing Tate down,
Oh, there'd be-
an
Oh, no,
uproar.
There'd be
yeah.
people with arms locked
Oh,
around the
man,
building.
There'd be World War III.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
because what I was going to say was maybe the reason that the state did it is because the school is built out of quality Pickens County, Georgia
Marble,
marble.
there you go.
know,
Right.
and all those
Well,
others
I'm
are
sure
using
that
bricks
helps.
from Augusta, and those bricks, I'm telling you, they're
That's
just.
That's-
not
it
the
is. It is the only all marble school in the country.
I know it's a
I mean, and
It's a historic
I mean,
site.
And have y'all seen the new
I
cafeteria?
haven't been in
Absolutely.
it, but I've seen
Okay.
it. from outside.
Next week is the
yeah
quote
December.
unquote grand opening.
Yeah, December 1st. And what time is that? The grand opening? I think it's 5.
I won't say it's 5 or 5:30.
5 or 5:30.
But
Yeah, but
I mean, I can't wait. I mean, I've went in and snuck around and looked at everything, but I mean, it is an outstanding cafeteria. I mean, it really is. I mean,
Well, that gives us what kind of where we want to be, and so I think the idea of what you talked about as far as parents, our retired people who've got tremendous amount of experience in different academia as well as industry and corporate background, getting involved. What is, if you can kind of outline briefly, what's the procedure for, say, grandmother, grandmother, Mrs. Jones, and grandfather, Mr. Smith, that want to come and work in the library or do tutoring after school? What's the procedure for them to be able to do that?
first thing to do is pick your school out, go to the school, talk to the administrators there. All of our volunteers do a background check. So, you can't walk in and start that day, but it's shortly thereafter. But the other things that you can get involved with that is even more along the lines of the governing body of the school is, we have to have teachers, administrators, and parents and business leaders on each school council.
Okay.
That is a way to, I guess the best way to describe it, affect change in a school is to be on that advisory council because, you literally, you have the ear of the principal of that school, who is the leader of the school, every time y'all meet because the principal is the one running the meeting. our board members, as board members, we try to all hit the school council meetings, not really going to try to, interject a lot, but to listen to what people say and understand what, if the teachers have an issue with something or, something's going on in a particular school, then it gives us insight as far as what that is. I mean, you can only read so much.
Right. Well, and then it kind of leads to a second question. If, say, Mr. Jones has experience as a math, a retired professor from Kennesaw State who happens to live in our county, but he has no children in the school system or grandchildren, does not matter. All right.
That doesn't matter at all.
Okay.
I mean,
Just want to clarify that for
Yeah.
those people who
Yeah,
are
I mean-
who are looking for something to do, who volunteer at the library to help do taxes. Maybe you could go and teach financial literacy at the high school. So just an idea. Just want to throw it out there.
sounds
All right.
like a great one to me.
Yeah. All right. I want to move on to, and this is by no means, as I always say, I let everybody see what questions are coming up and stuff. On the subject of the senior tax exemption, there was a lot of comments from the citizens and particular groups. And one of the ones that came up and stuff was, why should a 70-year-old be paying school tax? Now, I think I voiced my opinion there that for the most part, the reason, unless they went to a good Catholic school or a private school or Christian school that they paid out of their pocket, they received their education in public school, and we're paying it forward. But
Right.
I want to let you, give
Well,
your
I guess the easiest answer is if we're not going to spend money for our children, what are we going to spend it on?
yeah.
They are going to be the ones taking care of us. I would like for them to have the best education possible. I can tell you personally that I feel like that there will be a change in the senior tax exemption. Currently, we are doing anything less than $25,000 income. You're exempt from school taxes totally.
Right.
But believe it or not, I have figures for you.
Awesome.
In Lumpkin County, if you're 62 and over, you get to have a school tax exemption. But you know what their rule is? You make less than $10,000. Okay,
Yeah.
we're 15,000 better than that. Forsyth County,
Yeah.
exact same way, except for they're 16,000.
Yeah. What? Which would not pay your grocery bill in Forsyth.
Bartow County does it a little different. Doesn't matter how much money you make. Once you are, because I don't want to do it wrong, 65 and older in Bartow County, then you get a $40,000 tax credit on your appraised value of your home. So if your home was $100,000, then it would be 60,000, and then you would pay 40%. Would be what your taxes were based on of the 60,000.
Instead of your retirement income.
Right. It didn't matter if you had, if you made $1 million. There's no income on it whatsoever. All seniors got a $40,000 exemption.
Okay.
But Dawson's probably the most complicated. I read it about 20 times. I still don't understand it totally. Because it's crazy.
Yeah. You got to remember what kind of houses are in Dawson County too.
Right. But it basically states that if you're 65 to 70 and make less than $50,000 on non-retirement income,
Active income.
right, then you get a $65,000 exemption. Just
Okay.
like the Bartow County.
Yeah.
It's 65,000 is subtracted. Once you get to 70 and you still have those same guidelines on
Income.
you get a $120,000 exemption.
Okay.
I don't know. Somebody a lot smarter than me came up with that.
Yeah.
I don't know how on earth that you're going to be able to, because when we set a budget, we try to find out from the tax assessor's office what our tax base is, what it is.
Right.
And that's what we do, is we try to set the budget based on what we know should be. And we start the budget process way before those numbers come out. We have to have an educated guess. Amy Smith does a very good job being conservative enough on that to where we, knock on wood, we haven't gotten caught, with that yet. But basically, it is all over the board. We do have the Seniors for Change coming to the board meeting next month in December. They're going to present their findings. I don't know what their findings are as far as that goes. I would like to have, this is all basically, Rick Jaspers, our representative, is the one that would have to introduce a bill at the state level in order for it to change.
Right.
It's not a county issue. It is a Board of Education and Mr. Jaspers issue.
Right.
I think the people or Seniors for Change were confused in the beginning and thinking that the county was over the school board or something. I didn't understand their logic on that, but
Yeah.
it only affects the Board of Education. It has nothing to do with the county.
Yeah. Well, and I think it was twofold. There was a lack of clarity on some of the websites that they were looking at, trying to draw their conclusions
Right.
as to who the governing body was that decided how that percentage worked on their property tax.
Right.
And then also they actually asked some questions at the county level about the $25,000 exemption, because they actually had some members of their group and some others in the county who were being told different things based on the $25,000 was gross income versus net income. So there was some what research we've done since on the show and afterwards is there are some holes in the requirements. There's some areas, some gray areas, and
Right.
we want to make everything as transparent.
Right.
But
have you ever seen a bill come out of the state that didn't have gray areas?
Oh yeah.
I would love for it to be just as clear and precise as possible.
And compared to what we're looking at in some of these other counties,
Yeah,
we want it very simple.
It'd be a lot better for it to be simple and here's the reason. Then, as a board member, I can say, okay, this is what we need to plan for. I also, my opinion is, if it is changed, and I think we need to have a group to study it, which would include some board members, which would include some of the people from Seniors for Change, some business leaders in the community, and Mr. Jaspers, to sit down and discuss it and try to come up with a consensus. I think that no matter what is decided, I would choose for it to be a gradual thing.
Absolutely.
Because I don't want to get in a situation like Gilmer County got in. Gilmer County did this and then closed 2 schools next year.
Yeah. And Charlie Parish is struggling with the budget.
Right. Why cut your nose off, spot your face?
Yeah.
It's not something that, I think will happen in the next 2 months. I think it's something that's it's going to take some people a lot of time and a lot of study and a lot of ideas thrown out there to see what will be best for Pickens County.
Right.
They'll be mad at me, but I personally don't think that it causes a home not to sell.
No.
Excuse me for a minute.
Yeah.
Mike, you've really done your homework and you know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But you haven't addressed the other side of the coin. People are going to want to know, okay, well, you've told us what everybody else's counties are doing who don't give an exemption.
Right.
And you just brought up Gilmer. They have the exemption now. I'm assuming you know more about that than what you've just said. Could you kind of expand on that to make people understand better the consequences, and if there are any other options like another E-Splost that would supplement instead?
Well, we can't do an E-Splost. The state of Georgia has very strict rules, regulations, laws. You can't, I mean, we can only spend E-Splost money on very specific things. Basically, transportation, brick and mortar, and the transportation item is only for purchasing of transportation items. We included in this last SPLOST textbooks. That is one of the things you can put in it. So we put textbooks in there. That will help ease some of the, general budget things if we can do that out of the eSPLOST. But it cannot be a December 31st, it's one way, January 1st, it's the way it's going to be forever. Mm-hmm. It has to be a gradual thing. 1 year it may change to where, and I've heard people talk about, okay, let's move the, income exemption up to, 30, 35,000. Well, that might be what what could be done to begin with. To me, the income exemption makes it very hard for Roy Dobbs and his staff to tell us what our tax base is going to be. I think that a homestead exemption makes it a lot easier to know what your taxes are going to be, because that's what you have to do to plan and know where you are. The last thing I want to do, we're talking about building, a new Jasper Middle School, and then we're also talking about a senior tax exemption. Well, the last thing I want to do is build a new middle school and then shut it down.
Right.
That's what Gilmer did. I mean,
what have you learned from the Gilmer mistake?
Yeah. You've got to plan for years and be ready for it.
Have they recovered any?
They have recovered some. They still have 2 furlough days.
Okay.
Pickens County hasn't had any furlough days.
Good.
As long as I've been on the school board, we have not went up on millage rate, and we have not furloughed any of our employees. We're one of the only, a very slight handful of counties in the whole state of Georgia that's been able to do that.
Good.
That's why, the people of Pickens County have done a good job in electing people on the board that were very conservative and did not want to do that. I pay taxes. I don't want them to go up. But I will say this, though. When I'm a senior, I will continue to pay taxes whether I have an income exemption or not. Both my parents were educators. Both my kids have went through the school system. I went through the school system. I couldn't have paid an education. We're spending roughly, somewhere between $8,500 and $9,000 a year per student, and that includes local, state, and federal funds. Mm-hmm. So I can't get my kids an education for that. Right. I can't.
That's just what I wanted to ask, so that we had, we touched on what about the others.
Right. So. Right. But I'm open for any idea.
Well,
Okay.
Because people have been talking about it. It was actually something that was on the campaign trail when I was first running for the school board. And I was like, I need an idea from somebody that's smarter than me. Mm-hmm. As far as how to figure out the best way to do it to where we don't hurt children. And, it's got to be sold to the people that are going to, the money's got to come from somewhere. Somebody's taxes are going to go up. So, we can only cut so much out of the budget without it affecting children. So, money's got to come from somewhere.
Yep. And that kind of leads into the next thing I want to ask is, how can citizens truly be involved in the plans to spend the funds on the schools versus just hearing what's decided by the BOE? What's the process for Mr. Leister here, who has 2 children in the system, to have a true impact on the process?
Right. Well, just like we have school councils, when we do our district plan and do our, all of our schools are aligned with their district, with the district plan, as far as we try to keep everything in line, all having the same vision. We have community leaders, we have parents that are involved in coming up with those. We have renewed our 5-year plan that goes through this next year, because each year we revise it and tweak it, but we have to come up with a totally new one next year. And roughly, this year we did it in September, October. So, I mean, a year from now, it will probably start sooner, because it will be writing a new 5-year plan.
Okay.
That includes, it's a 5-year facility plan. It's a 5-year plan on the whole district.
All right. And that wasn't what Miss Green was covering at the last BOE meeting.
Right.
That was the initial part of
Right.
it. Right.
That is what she was covering then. We just got through doing that, and we had students involved, teachers, parents,
Okay.
board members, superintendent, administrators. Everybody was in a room, and then everybody broke off into groups and discussed, took different sections of it. And running a school system is a daunting task. The superintendent can't do it alone. Board members can't do it alone. The administration can't do it alone. It has to be involvement from everyone. Business leaders, parents, we need involvement from everyone. Now, that goes also to the same point, when you're in those things and you're throwing ideas around, sometimes I've been a problem of it myself. I'll throw an idea out there and nobody likes it. Okay, it wasn't a good idea. But that's the good thing about it is, you get to put ideas out there of what could be done. And then we have the people there that, say, okay, if we do this would need to change, this would need to change, this is how much it would cost us to do this and get this set up and all that. So, it's a great thing.
Okay.
And everything that we do, we have a website. It's called eBoard.
Right.
It is a plethora of information.
And back to the question, is that where a concerned citizen who wanted to join one of those committees would start?
Yes.
There an application
Yeah.
on there?
Right. Yeah. Just let somebody know in administration that you want to be involved.
Okay.
We will plug you in somewhere.
Okay. All right. So for all those listeners out there who say they want to be involved and have a voice in this, go to the Pickens County School website and click on the left-hand side where in the green you see e-board and scroll down through it and look for the information on it.
Yep.
So I've already been there. So.
Yeah. There you go. Yep.
All right, good deal. All right, next question. This is something that we talked about on one of the last shows, and it kind of plays in that same thing. Would you consider each board member asking 10 to 15 citizens to be directly involved in plans for spending, allowing ideas from citizens, which is what we're talking about? But, and this is a comment from me being at the last Board of Education meeting and talking to different people who are involved in the process, how much responsibility is put on you and your other board members,
Right.
with what I consider absolutely no control. And I'm going to give an example that I was made aware of with a new position and a new hire that was being brought in, that you as a board member are not allowed to personally interview the person. You're not allowed really to see their resume.
Right.
And you're the one that's voting to hire them or not hire them.
Right.
That makes absolutely no sense from
It
just
is.
from a strictly, I know it's probably a state statute, but it's a bad state statute.
Oh, I agree.
Mr. State Representative.
Yes, there are a lot of things that are very frustrating. The board, however, does get to, we hire and fire the superintendent. That is the one employee that that we control hiring and firing of. But we also, I guess the best word I can describe it is, we get to sort of have a mandated policy that our principals are to go out and find the very best teachers for their schools. Dr. Perry is to go out and find the very best administrators for the schools. We have been very lucky, like our new principal at Jasper Elementary.
Right.
It is going to, I mean, people are going to really love him. Number one, it's unusual to find someone nowadays that is a male that only wants to deal in early childhood.
Yeah.
He has spent his whole career in early childhood. That's where he wants to be, and has a passion for it. So, I mean, it is, I think all the teachers got to meet him before Thanksgiving break,
Okay.
and were excited about him. I mean,
Good.
he has been in the classroom. I mean, it is, I think that we have very, with an unwritten policy that we're going to hire the very best for every job.
Yeah.
I think that you can't go wrong with that policy.
Okay. I'll say it again. If our state representative is listening, and you want to put a bill on the in the session, would give the Board of Education board members more ability if you're going to hold them responsible for the decision they're making. That's my personal opinion, as we always say.
I'll second
So,
that, Will. I'll second that.
He seconded it, so
I'll abstain.
you gotta love it. He's from Baltimore. I mean,
Right.
it's
Blue state.
Yeah,
it's a blue state. All right.
he's remaining neutral.
Yeah, really. Kind of like Martin O'Malley.
Right.
All right.
I
Well-
will speak again, Will.
That's what I'm counting on. Well, it kind of brings me to the next thing and stuff, and this is something that we talked about briefly with Rick on the show, and I got an opportunity to go because obviously Rick Goebel is now in the state position, and congratulations to him, and I'm really happy to see that because you know what business I'm in, and
Yep.
so I deal with schools and industry around the state, and have seen some major success stories when industry, the Chamber of Commerce, parents, business people in the schools are brought together with a focus and do something. And,
It's definitely a good thing. I mean, where I work at Day Chevrolet,
Nothing
I
wrong
mean,
with free plug.
free plug.
That's it.
It's not going to be long before I need technicians.
No,
And
you and I are fighting that battle every day.
It is, we are not producing them anymore.
Right. Yeah, and that kind of brings me into with the new middle school, using some of the standards that were developed for the CTAE programs specifically for middle school curriculum. And some of them which I threw out there last week, and I got slammed for this, applications in the marble industry. It actually states Georgia states the granite, so we're not worried about those eastern people over there. And the other thing that we've talked about, that's just one, but one I find near and dear to my heart, and we've talked about at length, is fundamentals of aviation management or maintenance, navigation and communications. And I'm going to do the same thing I did on one of the previous shows. If we're going to build a new school, a new middle school, and we were going to increase technologies at all of our schools, and we just happen to have a technical college in our county and, I don't know, a small airport that we could get, and that be our focus for the northwestern part of Georgia, what would you think about moving in that direction?
I think it would be a really good idea. I am an old school guy. I grew up when you were in high school, you either went one path to go to college or you went another path to learn a trade. I'm sorry, but No Child Left Behind, I think, was terrible because it decided that everybody was going to be going to college.
Yeah.
Well, I need technicians.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the bottom line. I mean, I need people that know a trade. I need people that know how to work with their hands. I'm old school. I would like to see that.
Yeah.
I'm hoping, as y'all are aware, we are, they've changed the name again. We're writing our contract with the state of Georgia to be Excellence in Education. It used to be IA squared. When we voted for it, it was IA squared. But basically, we can get waivers from the state to sort of control some of those things and what we do. I'm not sure because we're fixing to start writing the contract. And I don't know all the leeway that we're going to have.
All right.
Me personally, I'm going to push for every single waiver, whether we need it or not, because frankly, I don't trust the state with the governor doing what he's doing. As we sit here today, I have no idea what our funding is going to look like from the state next year.
Oh, yeah.
No idea whatsoever. It is going through a total reorganization. I'm assuming it's because, they're tired of us yelling about our austerity cuts.
Yeah.
I can tell you, I'll give you an example. Since 2003, Pickens County, according to the state's own funding formula, has been shorted over $20 million. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
In austerity cuts. Our budget is 40. Back then it wasn't 40.
Yeah.
But we're up over $20 million for Pickens County.
Yeah.
The other thing, if you don't mind me just letting all the listeners know, is the fact that talking about property taxes, we're at 16.1 mil. Out of that 16.1, the state keeps 5 mils.
Right.
So this year, because I got the figure because I wanted to be able to tell you for sure, $6.5 million stayed at the state just in equalization funds.
Okay.
Last year, Gwinnett County and Cowart County got the most equalization funds in the state.
Yeah, and that's because we're a tier 4 county.
Right.
So
we're considered, because of our land value and our per capita income, a rich county.
Yeah. And when I moved here in 1996 and bought property, I got a discounted loan because it was considered to be a low-income county.
Right.
We've done an amazing job in a tough economy, I guess.
We have. Right. We have. But, it's very frustrating when, you're sitting there and you're doing a budget and you're figuring, okay, so, we're at 16.1 mil, but no, really we're at 11.1 mil because we just, we don't even give it to the state. They just take it and don't send it.
Yeah.
We never see it to where we can actually write them a check. We just don't get it.
It's kind of like FICA. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
We know how well that's worked.
But maybe it'd make you madder if you did write the check.
So same way with FICA.
Yeah. But it's very frustrating to know that the taxpayers of Pickens County are paying that.
Yep.
And it doesn't stay in Pickens County.
Yeah, that 100 or so schools in Gwinnett County, though, they're loving it.
I know. They really need it. They have no industry in Gwinnett County or anything like that
All
where
retail.
They can, collect any sales tax revenue whatsoever.
No, yeah.
None at all.
You can't count malls. You can't count those.
They don't sell any cars in Gwinnett County, so they don't get any TAF tax or anything like that.
Never built any houses.
Never built a house. It's
no Starbucks or anything.
I do. I feel sorry for them.
Yeah.
It is very frustrating. And then, we also comes out of our budget is we do pay the county for collecting taxes on our behalf.
Right.
We pay them 2.5% of everything that they collect on our behalf, which is a little over $500,000.
Right. Yeah.
So, and that's okay. The school system, the county, and the city should all work together.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, collecting taxes, I mean, that is a huge thing. I mean, the county has one whole department.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so, I mean, I'm not griping about the fact that we pay them. I think that it should be, I mean, any time that the city, the county, and the school can work together, it's better.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But it's good that we make the citizens who may not read the digest and understand what each column is,
Right.
where the money is collected and where it ends up.
Right.
Because there's a lot of miscommunication there
Oh, I
with people that think that 16.5 staying here and is totally at your discretion.
Right.
So that's good clarity
Yeah.
on that. Yep. Okay.
Oh,
All right. Well, what's your opinion as far as with the state standards that are developed for the middle schools? Looking at some of those programs that we're talking about for the kids.
Yeah. Honestly, everything's up in the air. I mean, it is. I mean, I guess the best way I can describe it is, at this moment, there is a plain white sheet of paper.
Okay.
I mean, that is. I mean, there is nothing been decided because number one, I mean, we're not going to do anything before we knew that the East Plus was going to pass or not.
All right.
And I mean, in my opinion, I mean, the reason why I wanted to do the East Plus this time is because if it did not pass, that gave us one more opportunity for it to come back on the ballot before it went away.
Right. Okay.
And that's only because me looking at the numbers and understanding what gets paid out of what, I did not want to see us with everything coming in, with the state changing the funding formula, with all that. It was a very scary thing to be a board member if it didn't pass, because we were going to be squeezed from every end possible, and then try to produce a quality education.
All right. Yeah, I mean, and Mike, as a disclaimer, just clarify. You and I had the discussion before. My only issue with the East Plus was how the election had to be put on, and I understand that.
Right.
But as I've said since then, once it passed, we want to get behind it.
Right.
Let people, at least that 1,250 that got out and voted, to be involved, have some say so in it, and make the best choices that we can. David?
Now, when you start receiving the East Plus money, will you be able to break it out from the rest of your budget and show the people of Pickens County how it's being used on a regular basis every 3 months?
We do it every month
Every
already.
month? Okay.
It is in all the documents that we have when we publish our board meetings. We get financial report every single month.
Right.
Part of that is splossed, part of that is general budget. All of those. I mean, if you don't, I mean, you're more welcome to print them off. You're more welcome to go online and look at them, or you can come by the central office and ask for a copy. I mean, it's whatever's convenient for you. Everything that we do is spelled out black and white. There's nothing hidden anywhere. I mean, we can't really do anything because we get audited every single year from the state. Then when there is a SPLOS going on, they also audit the SPLOS. So it's like, we have to account for everything. It has to go to the right place. Everything has, I mean, it's just like in big business, everything has an account. Well, the school system's the same way. Everything has to go in a certain account, be expended from that account, and it all balances. I mean, you can't hide money.
Right, but are your general ledger descriptions descriptive enough?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can, if I can understand it, anybody can.
You're underselling yourself, but that's good.
No, I'm not. I'm not. I mean, now, that's the other thing too. We have open board work sessions for the budget every year. There's 4 to 5 of those that, sometimes can get rather lengthy because we have a bunch of questions. It's not, I guess the best way I can describe it is, unfortunately, the way the school board meetings have to go, we have to be able to control the meeting and talk and ask our questions. So we are the ones making the decision. And so, we don't get to go every day and talk to them and say, okay, tell us this, this, and this, and this. I mean, we all have jobs that we have to do to feed our families. So, during those work sessions, we ask a ton of questions. But that's not to say that if you went to one of those work sessions and you had a question and it didn't get asked, that you don't, when we end the work session, you tell me, say, Mike, at your next work session, you need to find out about this. Then I'm going to stop. I'm going to write that down, and that's going to be one of my first questions to ask the next time. I've had people call me after they watched us on No Pickens and stuff and said, hey, why didn't you ask this? Well, okay, I will next time.
Okay.
It's not, I guess the best way I can describe it is, we get information overload, but as crazy as it sounds, I want more. I need, somebody that, sometimes, my dad used to say, sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees. Sometimes somebody's sitting out there 20 feet away, hears something differently than I do.
Yeah.
What's wrong with getting somebody's opinion?
Okay. And that's something that's good for you to say repeatedly,
Right.
because of the overall perspective of the citizenry
Right.
about the Board of Education,
Right.
not you specifically.
Oh, well, it's the way that our meetings are structured and all that. Our meetings are there to, I guess for a better word for it, take care of the business of the school system. In between those meetings is when, that's why, in my letters to the editor in the newspaper, I made sure I put my cell phone number in there. And Dan finally printed it. He took it out of the first one. So it was like, okay, the body of my letter says, and my cell phone number will be attached, and it's not there. So I was like, okay, I really didn't lie. It was there. But but the second time I put it up in the body and it stayed there. But and on our website has the way to get in touch with every board member. Everybody's more welcome to call me. But we have 5 board members. We all cover specific areas of the county. I'm sure they wouldn't mind me telling everybody, if you live in somebody's district, make that your board member. Make that the one that you call and say, hey, I'm worried about this issue. I want to, ask this question. I want an answer on this. We're all very receptive. We all have emails. We don't want to sit up there without input.
Are you trying to say that you don't believe in power, you believe in responsibility?
Oh, no, I take my responsibility as a board member very seriously.
Right.
And, I learned a long time ago, that's the frustrating part about being a board member. You really don't have any power.
Yeah, here you go.
You have no power. But you have all the responsibility for, when everything goes bad, it's the board's fault. When everything goes great, we don't get the credit, and that's okay. It's like a great coach of an athletic team. A great coach always takes the blame for a loss and gives all the credit for a win to the kids.
Right.
That's my philosophy.
That sounds like that might have been something you learned from your dad.
He might have had a conversation with me once or twice.
I believe so. And with that, we're going to wrap up the show. I want to just run out some announcements on the upcoming show, December 3rd. We're going to have Donnie Craig and Ted Bowman on about Second Amendment changes and how Pickens County citizens can learn more about home safety.
I wonder where they can learn that.
Yeah, really. I think we've got somebody that wants to plug. If anybody doesn't know Bill Cagle and the fact that he is a certified instructor for the NRA and gun safety, Bill can be found right here every radio show. So, and then December 10th, we're going to have David Eisenham from the Ted Cruz for President campaign on to talk about some issues there on the I'm sure we'll be leading up to December 15th, the next debate. And then as of today, on December 17th, I'll have Jerry with Nefertall with the economic development. Jerry's going to be on with us to talk about economic development in the county. And again, we want to invite everybody out December 7th, that Monday, for the giveaway here at Rocco's on the Second Amendment gun raffle and rally, with partial funds going to a 2016 Pickens High School scholarship and other community groups. And then our February 27th, 2016 sock ops at Chattahoochee Tech, and part of those funds are going to go to fund our 2016 graduate scholarships as well. Mike, I want to thank you for being on the show with us.
Thank you for having me.
All right. David, thank you for being on.
Thank you, sir.
Bill, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
And with that, we'll end the show, and thanks everybody.